So welcome to our last presentation for today. This presentation is entitled Going National. So raise your hand if you have ever been to a national council meeting and or a summer convention. Good. Okay, so it looks like about half of you have. I'm assuming I recognize a lot of your faces from the council meeting in Pittsburgh that we just had. Specifically, what about the summer convention? Raise your hand. Good. Okay, so those are two of our biggest national events throughout the year. One typically happens in the winter, and that's our formal business meeting for the year, which is our national council meeting. That's usually hosted by a school. And our summer convention happens every August, and that is more of like a vacation conference weekend for families and for undergraduates and alumni, and that typically happens at like a resort or a hotel. And so really what we're going to talk about quickly as we end today is the importance of events like that and ways in which you can get the most as an undergraduate out of Alpha Phi Delta. So that's why we chose to name this Going National. Next slide, please. Okay. Why are we here? And I don't mean here today, okay, but why are we here as brothers of Alpha Phi Delta? Every organization has usually what we call a mission statement. It's the reason why that organization exists. So if you're a business major, you're involved in communications, people spend a lot of time, companies, corporations spend a lot of time developing their mission statement. Schools, like Manhattan University, have a mission statement. And mission statements are essentially their purpose. Why does that organization exist? So how many of you know Alpha Phi Delta's mission statement? No one. Good. We're off to a good start. Well, this is our mission statement, the purpose of Alpha Phi Delta. The purpose for which this organization has been formed is to conduct an all-volunteer staffed fraternal organization having its objectives the common advantage of its members. Who can kind of translate that into their own words? Why do we exist?
Putting our best efforts in purely out of love to benefit the entire community. A brotherhood.
We exist as a brotherhood to the advantage of its members. We want to make you successful men. We want you to have a good life. We want you to have good experiences that ultimately nourish and enrich you, okay, so that you can feel fulfilled. We want you to graduate school. We want you to get a good job, have a career, have a family, and ultimately be a success. That's our purpose. We exist to enrich your experience in life. Specifically the 4 years that you're in college or university, but even beyond that. That's why we're a fraternity and not a club or a team. Okay, so next slide. And in our society today, in our country today, in our culture today, that's extremely important. If you were at one of my roundtables this morning, we talked a little bit about this, but there have been a lot of sociological studies throughout the last few decades about American society in particular, and how our society has changed in America since the founding of our country. Since the earliest years of the United States, it's been observations, the different observations of different scientists and political scientists and sociologists about the idea of American culture and us being a nation of joiners. That Americans used to love being a part of something. Whether it was things like the Boy Scouts or the Knights of Columbus or the Elks Club or the Foreign Legion, whatever it was, Americans used to like to be a part of something. Bowling leagues. There was a point in our nation's history where bowling leagues, especially for young men and middle-aged men and older Americans, it was really popular. Everyone loved to bowl. And there was a great book written around the time of the millennium, 2000, Bowling Alone by Robert Putnam. In it, Putnam studied a modern phenomenon that even though more Americans bowled during the late 90s and early 2000s, fewer of them bowled in leagues. They instead decided to, as the title points out, bowl alone. Something happened in the 1980s, the 1990s, the early 2000s, where generations of Americans lost interest in joining things. We went from being a nation of joiners to a nation that was very much isolated and individualized. We lost the ability to see the advantages of being a part of a group. Other articles and books since then, or around that time, have also alluded to this. In 1999, a year before Bowling Alone came out, there was an article on fraternity, social capital, and the American community. This was not a book, but an article, and in it, the researcher pointed out that the American fraternal system actually has a lot of benefits that most Americans don't realize. That in fact, whereas the popular perception of fraternities is actually quite negative because of movies and because of the news and the media, that fraternities like Alpha Phi Delta actually do a lot of good for young men your age. Because, fraternities allow you experiences and allow you opportunities to social network that you wouldn't have otherwise. As I told the group this morning, we often, when we look at the law of averages, you are, as a young man, the average of the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with. I used to have a friend who used to say, you show me your friends and I'll show you who you really are. And what that ultimately translates to is that, if you hang out with a bunch of people who are unmotivated, if you hang out with people who don't have goals, if you hang out with people who don't want to work hard, that's ultimately what you're going to be. If you hang out with people who are driven, that want to be successful, that do work hard, that care about their studies, that want a better life, that's also who you're going to be. So when we talk about the fraternal system, when we talk about the importance of the chapter at your level and rushing and recruiting good people, ultimately what Alpha Phi Delta can do for you is better you as a person, and that's our purpose. We want to surround you with like-minded individuals and give you experiences to grow as a person that ultimately make you successful. Next slide. How often do we see this at the airport, at the mall, on the street corner? This is a modern phenomenon where every single person that we meet is glued to a screen. Young children at restaurants on their tablet and iPad. Adults and families alike on their phone. It has become an epidemic. Next. Whether it's on the street corner or in a restaurant, once again, just everyone on their phone. Next slide. This has become exacerbated since the pandemic, a time period where a whole generation of Americans were taught to social distance. Well, social distancing is the opposite, of a social fraternity. An experience where we try to come together and talk and communicate and share. Instead, we have replaced that with technological isolation. High schoolers and college students that are more comfortable behind a screen, behind closed doors, than out in the open, joining clubs and being a part of team and having hobbies and actually doing physical, tangible things instead of remote technological things. Next slide. To this point in 2017, there's a great book that was written called Alone Together. In this book, the author talks about how technology and face-to-face interactions, although they are central to our existence, have been phased out by technology. And in a social fraternity, members come together for meetings, events, gatherings, which are actually indirectly giving young men like you opportunities to develop communication skills, empathy, and trust. Traits that you don't get from a laptop or a video game or a cell phone screen. So by being a part of Alpha Phi Delta, it's actually good for you, not negative for you. A fraternity offers opportunities for real-world impact through community service, philanthropy, mentorship, and leadership, just like us being gathered here today. If you weren't here today, would you be in your bedroom playing your PlayStation or Xbox? Maybe, right? But instead, we're having conversation, we're having lunch together, we're in small groups, we're doing roundtables, we're interacting. Next slide, please. This, of course, leads us to the word social capital. And once again, if you were in my roundtable this morning, we spoke a little bit about this. For those of you that are more business-oriented or you come from a business background, we often talk about capital in terms of economics. Capital meaning resources. There could be physical capital, computers, desks, things like that, books. Human capital in terms of our labor, our employees, natural resources. But social capital are people, their skills, their experience, their knowledge, and the networking that we bridge together. Learning from each other, how to act and be human beings, the human experience. And as we have moved into this technological isolation, this age of not being a nation of joiners, but being a nation alone, we've lost that ability to network and have social capital. But the answer is clear, and that's the American fraternal system. Giving young men like you opportunities to come together and get these things that many Americans now today are lacking. Next. So when we talk about our fraternity is comprised across the country as a national fraternity made up the districts that you see here on the map. From Colorado to Florida to the Northeast, New York and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Connecticut. People like you all across the country. One of the things that we've seen in the last few years, however, is that many of our undergraduates, mostly as a symptom of the pandemic, have developed kind of this idea of Alpha Phi Delta in a box. That Alpha Phi Delta is at your campus, or in your neighborhood, or in your dorm. That Alpha Phi Delta is not what you see on the screen. We have to, break that box and break that notion that Alpha Phi Delta only exists in your backyard. My challenge for you today is to go national. Get out of your backyard, travel, talk to people, and grow your network. Because there is much more to Alpha Phi Delta than just your chapter. There's lots of chapters. Next slide, please. Did you know, for example, that we have over 22,000 brothers that have been initiated since 1914. We have 30 active chapters and 28 active alumni groups. That not only are we large, but we're also in charge. 3.2 is the average GPA of our current undergraduates, much higher than the male average for the entire country. We have an 86% graduation rate in 4 years, which is much, again, higher than the average male rate for the country. 27% of our members are on some form of scholarship, and 98.4% of our brothers have a first-year freshman to second-year retention rate, which once again is remarkable compared to the national average. So when you go home and you talk to your parents, or when you go home or when you go to your campus and talk to that rush or prospective member, what are the things that should be your selling points? Alpha Phi Delta makes you a better person. It's not just about the things that we see in the media and on TV and in movies, but instead, the proof is right here in front of you in the numbers. And why is this the case? It's because we are filled with successful men like the people here on these tables today. Men that want to graduate, men that want to have careers, that want to network and want to be successful. And as I said before, when you surround yourself with successful people, that's exactly what you're going to become. Next slide, please. Okay, so what are some ways that you can travel and what are some ways that you can get out of your backyard and meet more brothers and gain experience and gain social capital? Okay, well, we're going to have this great event coming up, and it's our summer convention. This year it's in Lancaster, Pennsylvania from July 30th to August 3rd. Most undergraduates typically go for the last 2 or 3 days, Friday to Sunday. It's a great opportunity once again for you to meet your national officers, meet your district governors, meet alumni, and meet fellow undergrads. We come together. There's a undergraduate versus alumni softball game Saturday morning, followed by a picnic. There is a national awards formal dinner on Saturday night. There is a mass that is Catholic mass that is celebrated by Father Lentini. So there's lots of different opportunities for you to have fun. If you golf, many alumni and undergrads often do golf on Friday morning and Saturday morning. There's a hotel pool. There's lots of opportunities for you to talk and meet and greet and just have a good time. But when we talk about the opportunity to have social capital, this is exactly what we're talking about. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some images from last year. Here you see at the bottom right your current executive board. You'll see some award winners being presented their awards. One of the nights we had a ventriloquist act as part of our dinner. Sometimes we've done murder mysteries and different events. The top left picture is actually all of our attendees, which was well over 200 people. Alumni, from the 1950s and 1960s and 1970s all the way to, okay, undergraduates, your fellow undergraduates, their families, their children. This is once again the ideal opportunity for you to meet exactly who Alpha Phi Delta is in terms of your brothers and network. Next slide, please. Here are some more details. If you're interested in coming and joining, they are on the website already. Now, later this spring, we will be giving you some communications about how undergrads can attend. The foundation is going to work with your national president and myself, and we're going to try to get as many undergrads there as possible. We're going to try to make it as financially affordable for you because we want you to attend. We can't have a good summer convention without you there because you are the fraternity. So I hope that you save those dates, and I hope that you make it an effort to bring people from your chapters and come have fun and spend time with one another, because that's ultimately what we're all about. Next slide, please. Okay. If you are someone that went to council this year in Pittsburgh and you are planning on attending the summer convention, and you make it a point to visit a chapter 100 or more miles away from your own, you will be eligible for one of the highest awards that we give to undergraduates in our fraternity, which is the Faciamus pin. And we all know that our mantra of Faciamus means we do. We are looking to cultivate an entire generation of undergrads who are national. Undergrads that really understand what Alpha Phi Delta is all about. So my goal this year is to make Father Lentini sell out of this pin by giving out more pins this summer than we've ever given out before. So if you have already gone to Pittsburgh a few weeks ago and you're here today, okay, and you're planning on coming this summer, you're already well on your way to getting that pin. And you'll get it at summer convention. It's a very beautiful pin. If you didn't go to Pittsburgh this year, fear not, you can get it next year. But the whole point of this pin is to encourage you to travel and encourage you to be active participants in Alpha Phi Delta.
Does attending National Council fulfill the first requirement, or does it have to be individual?
It has to be a non-mandatory event, so council's mandatory. Okay? Next slide, please. Oh, I had a question? Yeah?
What if I went to Colorado last March?
We can make that work. Okay? Did you visit the chapter?
Yeah.
Then yes, we can make that work. Okay? So, other ways that you can get involved, right? Our Kleos is published at least twice a year, and it is a great opportunity for you to see what's going on in the fraternity. Who here knows that the foundation actually had a big golf outing this past year? Well, you would have known if you read the Kleos. One guy did. Okay, there's lots of opportunities for dinners and fundraisers and ways for your chapter and you to both get involved. And the Kleos is a great way to do that. And I also want to take time to encourage you to submit what your chapters are doing to the Kleos. This morning, okay, Alex Frankie gave you a QR code or an address to submit to the foundation if you would like to submit kind of what your chapters are doing. I'm going to also ask you to submit similar things to the Kleos. After this presentation, I will share with you the email that you can share it to our editor of the Kleos. And essentially, if your chapter has a philanthropy event, a cultural event, any social event that you would like, or your induction pictures that you want to submit into the magazine, you can do that. You just submit the picture with a small description, names of who is being photographed, and you'll actually see your photo in print. I know we don't print photos anymore. In the magazine in the coming months if you do that. Now we'll have at least 2 a year, so if you missed this deadline, you'll probably see it in the next issue. But I encourage you all to submit, because especially in the last few issues, we've seen a decline in the amount of content submitted by our undergrads. It's been an alumni-heavy magazine. But we want to include your content too, because a lot of you are doing really good things. So I said I would make it quick. That was my pitch to you. I hope that when you leave here today, you go out there and spread the good news about what you learned today, all of the tips and tricks. But the last thing that we really want to leave you with is this importance to leave your backyard. Go out there and explore Alpha Phi Delta. Some of my best memories as a brother, an undergraduate brother in Alpha Phi Delta, and even now as an alumnus, are not in my backyard. They were not here on this campus. They were elsewhere. They were at council. They were at summer convention. They were visiting another chapter. Get out there and go. Because at the end of the day, decades from now, it's not going to be playing video games in your dorm room that you're going to remember. It's not going to be walking to McDonald's with your friends on a Thursday night. It's going to be the trips and the memories that you make on the road and other places that you're ultimately going to remember. Take it from someone like me. Okay? I implore you to do so. And trust me, okay, if you put into Alpha Phi Delta, you're always going to get more out of it. So I thank you for your time, and I thank you for being here today. Thank you.